welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. Coming to you live today as we do every day, Monday to Friday, noon to 2 Eastern from the Newsmax headquarters in New York City. And just downtown to start off this Money Monday, we go to the New York Stock Exchange and we see the Dow is well in the green this morning. As my partner Frank may say, it's in the black, but it's not in the red, up 200 points. As Donald Trump signals to the markets over the weekend that he may have second thoughts about fully crushing China with the tariffs, and notified the press and others through his Twitter feed that he believes there was some good conversation over the weekend and the trade negotiators will be back to the table. That makes the markets breathe a little sigh of relief, and we're up 200 there. Bitcoin in today at 10,300 after a little bit of a volatile week last week, but it did not dip below 10,000, and sustainability at 10,000 is a great support level. And finally, for this Money Monday, I bring in my partner who's on the money all the time, Frank Morano, managing editor. Frank, good afternoon in the East.
Good afternoon in the East. Happy Monday to everybody. Quite a bit of news happening around the world and around the country. We're going to cover it all. Certainly, one of the big pieces of news is that while some Democratic presidential candidates are dropping out, some presidential candidates are dropping in. And that is precisely what I'm speaking, frankly, about. So you may have heard that former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh is jumping into the race for president. In fact, John and I were pretty close to breaking this story. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And he officially announced it over the weekend. Here's a little bit of the former congressman explaining why he's running for president on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Take a look.
I'm going to run for president, and I'm happy to be on your show announcing my candidacy. George, no surprise, we've got a guy in the White House who's unfit, completely unfit, to be president. And it stuns me that nobody stepped up. Nobody in the Republican Party stepped up, because I'll tell you what, George, everybody believes in the Republican Party. Everybody believes that he's unfit.
This is a total and complete joke. Now, you could understand why a guy like William Weld might run against Donald Trump, because they disagree philosophically. Weld is pro-choice. He has pointed out significant differences with the president on spending, on trade, issue after issue. Joe Walsh did not point out one substantive difference between the two. He made his whole argument about the president being unfit. He's a racial arsonist, is what he said in his New York Times op-ed. He said he doesn't have the moral fiber. He said he's a child, this, that, nothing substantive. We want to talk about Joe Walsh questioning the temperament of President Trump. Let's look at what Joe Walsh tweeted just 4 years ago. Take a look at this tweet. This is actually from Joe Walsh's Twitter. Let's hope that when the Islamists next strike, they first behead the appeasing cowards at CNN, MSNBC, etc., who refuse to show the cartoons. I want you to understand what Joe Walsh, who's questioning Donald Trump's character, said publicly, not privately when he was caught on a microphone, on a hot mic. He publicly called for terrorists to behead CNN and MSNBC personalities. Now, I can guarantee you, all the times Donald Trump has called CNN or MSNBC fake news, not once has he called for one CNN or MSNBC personality to be beheaded. So you ask yourself the question, is Joe Walsh really the right messenger to question Donald Trump's character? No. So why is he running? Well, in order to get that answer, let's go, of all people, to Joe Walsh. Dissolved to 4 years ago. He's speaking at the Turning Point Conference, December of 2015. This is what Joe Walsh said.
I'm making breaking news in Palm Beach. I'm Joe Walsh, former congressman. I'm running for president in 2020. If Hillary Clinton wins, if a Democrat is in the White House, I am announcing right here and now, Joe Walsh is running for president in 2020.
So he said in December of 2015 that he was running for president in 2020. If Hillary Clinton won. You know why he said that? because he assumed, like a lot of other people, that Hillary Clinton was going to win. What does this tell you? Joe Walsh was always planning to run for president in 2020. It didn't matter that Donald Trump won. It wouldn't have mattered if Hillary Clinton won. Joe Walsh knows he has no prayer of being elected. He couldn't even get reelected to his House seat. So why is he running? He's running for two reasons. One, ego, and two, because he views this as an opportunity to build his own personal brand. Maybe get a TV show, maybe get a highly paid MSNBC contributorship, maybe get a book deal, because he sees what's happened to Herman Cain, Al Sharpton, Alan Keyes, Mike Huckabee. Go down the list of failed presidential candidates who've launched media careers. This candidacy is a total joke. And while everybody has the right to run, nobody has a right to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's taking this guy seriously. And quite frankly, pun intended, excellent observations. But while he tweeted just 4 years ago how he was calling for the beheading of MSNBC.
Also called Barack Obama a Muslim, by the way. The guy that's now calling Trump a racial arsonist.
The same exact guy just this morning was on MSNBC. I saw him.
Wow. Was he calling for anybody to be beheaded this morning?
No, he was talking about, like you said, that people are tired and people, need a rest from this president. But he didn't say a single policy issue. No. He didn't say a single thing what he would do to change the dialogue or the narrative. Look, all he did was call Donald Trump names.
Yeah,
him, Tom Steyer, and William Weld should all find something else to do with their time.
Well, look, I actually happen to be quite fond of William Weld.
I am too.
I wouldn't vote for Weld. I'm a Trump guy. But I have no problem with Trump being challenged. I think the best thing for all the parties is a substantive policy debate on the issues. Because you know who wins there? The voters. But Joe Walsh is not running for a substantive policy debate on the issues. He's running to improve his own personal brand.
Publicity.
That's it.
That's it. He's getting ratings for his radio show and he's building his brand, but sometimes are you really building your brand by doing outrageous things? I mean, we've done some outrageous things, and
some
of them I regret.
He got on a broadcast network Sunday news show last weekend, so yesterday. I guarantee you his whole life in politics and in the public eye, his whole life in a media personality, he's never been on a national broadcast Sunday news show in his life. So already it's working for him. He'll get more Twitter followers.
Yep.
So when this all ends 6 months from now or a year from now, he can run back to somebody and say, hey, look, give me a podcast deal. Give me a radio show. Look, I have 100,000 Twitter followers. That's what's so sad about this country is we have a political system that just pushes the people best qualified out and attracts people like Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh, quite frankly, is an idiot. And I've met Joe Walsh many times over the years. He's been a colleague. He's a buffoon. If Joe Walsh has a triple-digit IQ, I'll drink a glass of water from Newark. The guy's one of the dumbest guys on the planet.
Speaking about buffoons, Cory Booker is out there, doing everything he can to get up to 2% in the poll so he can get in it. And at the same time, back at the ranch in Newark, one of the main hubs of his Senate state district, they can't drink the water there. So maybe, again, it's like the Elijah Cummings thing. You've been in power for a long time. You got to be able to demonstrate that you're doing good governance in your local territory before you start telling the whole country that you want to be president.
John, I am so glad that you brought this up, but I think it's even worse than Elijah Cummings because he's not just a legislator from that area. He was the mayor for close to 8 years, right? So New Yorkers are really the ones that should pay attention to what's happening in Newark with this water crisis because what Cory Booker did in Newark is what we now call in socioeconomics and in political circles the full de Blasio, which is all he wanted to do was get out of Newark. Now, I can understand. If you see the level of crime when Cory Booker was mayor, you'd want to get out of Newark, too. But he was not at all focused on the city of Newark. So what did he do? He appointed people to run the water board who were crooks. They all took kickbacks. They all ultimately got arrested for corruption. He wanted nothing to do with it. Now, he himself wasn't implicated, but that's because he was not a hands-on mayor. Now, New Yorkers, keep an eye on this. Don't be surprised if 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you see the people that Bill de Blasio has put in charge of public housing or the school system that did nothing about lead in the water or did nothing about lead paint in public housing. fine because de Blasio is now doing the full Cory Booker.
Yeah, he's doing everything he can to get out of New York. He has no choice, but because he can't even run again. And now he can't even get on the debate stage, this de Blasio. Talk about buffoons. This is one of the biggest buffoons around.
So I don't like to disclose private conversations between my fiancée and I, or my fiancée and me.
I didn't even know you were engaged.
Well,
Congratulations.
thank you very much.
So
thank you.
private.
Perhaps that explains your lack of sending an RSVP to the wedding.
You invited me.
Yesterday, I said to my fiancée, "Are you excited to watch? Are you looking forward to watching Bill de Blasio's town hall meeting on CNN?" Her response was a groan sigh. Ugh, I really hope we don't have to watch that.
Yeah.
The whole country is feeling the same way about Bill de Blasio.
No question. And speaking about buffoons, in case you missed it, the leading Democratic presidential candidate, Joe Biden, was in Keene, New Hampshire yesterday, a key early polling state for the Democratic primaries. And Joe did the usual Joe. And when people keep talking about, well, why does Joe keep making these gaffes and everything else? He's in New Hampshire, may I remind you. Do we have that clip of Joe? Here's what he said yesterday in New Hampshire. Hear it. The guy's in New Hampshire, and he's telling everyone how he's been in Vermont before, as recently as 2011, and he loves it there, Frank. He's in New Hampshire, let me remind you, and he's telling everybody how much he loves it in Vermont.
You know, I'm glad that you played that clip, because what's happening with Joe Biden now, it isn't funny. But he
Funny to me.
No, look, he's always had a history of gaffes, malapropisms, spoonerisms. But what we're seeing now is serious signs of cognitive decline. This is not a joke. We are watching a man's mental state deteriorate before our very eyes. And I realize his doctor came out with a statement that said his brain is fine. I am not buying it, because this is happening way too often, and he's getting worse.
No doubt. And if there is something wrong, Joe, tell us. And of course we wouldn't laugh at you. We'd want you to get all the help you deserve. You're an American icon, and you should know.
He also said
when you're
the Kennedys were assassinated in the 70s.
New Hampshire. You're watching Liquid Lunch. We're going to take a quick break. Dante Nero joined us, and you'll hear everything he has to say right after this.